So, Merry Christmas. We're coming to the end of 2023. And honestly, it's been a year. It's been the most year of them all. So this year, my goal with creating and stuff was just kind of like to discover what I wanted to create and kind of like not pressure myself so much. To some degree, I succeeded. And in others, I was still very stuck. And now that we're coming at the end of the year, I gotta say, like, compared to this past 2 years, I feel great. The things I'm feeling right now are more, I think more appropriate for someone who's like a millennial entering their 30s. Like, okay, let's like evaluate, where am I in my life? Where am I going? What am I doing? Instead of like 2 years ago where it was just pure unfiltered anxiety. And I'm glad that I definitely feel in a better mental space. But right now, at this point, I'm not here to like talk about to talk about how I feel. It's rather I wanted to talk about 2023 was a crazy year to be part of YouTube in any shape or form. I don't want to say that I have a following or something or whatever. I'm not even so much a creator here, but rather I'm someone that enjoys YouTube very much. I have creators that I see, content that I like. And this year was particularly hard to be a fan of anybody. There were so many, I don't want to say controversies, because even right now, words like controversies or apology videos or cancellation, stuff like that, they just like stop having meaning because it was so much. So I wanted to talk a little bit, not from the point of a creator, but as a fan of some of the stuff that I saw during this year. So I think I wanted to start with I was thinking like, okay, which one is the smaller one? But like everything all year was like, I keep seeing videos from everyone that they were saying like, oh, X situation just got worse, blah, 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 just got worse. Every week, something got worse. For instance, I think the one that maybe wasn't as, it was more within the community of these creators that, for instance, the rest that we're going to talk about, they were like on the national news, right, in the US. But this one, I think it stayed very concentrated within their fandom, and that was Super Mega. So if you don't know Super Mega was a gameplay, or I want to say like a variety channel with Ryan McGee and Matt Watson. And this year they got canceled for a really odd situation that, yes, involved them, but they weren't the perpetrators of something this thing that happened. And I just thought it was so weird. So my story with Super Mega is that I met them, or I got to know about them through the Game Grumps channel. I really like Game Grumps. They make me laugh a lot. And Ryan and Matt were their editors at one point. And I realized that I knew them, or that I heard about them before, actually from Markiplier, which, if you don't know the full story of Super Mega, was that some years ago they were actually the channel Sindago, and there was a third member that sadly lost his life to suicide. And I remember that Markiplier made a video, and I didn't know like any of these people, right? But it was a very heartfelt video from Markiplier. And then later, when Matt and Ryan became editors for Game Grumps, I was like, oh, it's great, that in spite of this tragedy, they're still working, that they're still like chasing their dream. So that's kind of how I got very invested in Super Mega. I'll admit, even though I liked, I like Matt and Ryan, I wasn't like a huge super fan, because I'll admit their humor was too much for me. Like, it was very much, like jackass stunts and like doing very, very shocking stuff. Like, they would do like drunk or high gameplays and stuff like that. But I always... I always appreciated the grind, that they were very much about that it was their brand. It was what they liked. And then one day I remember that this was this video from either from, let's say, a friend that was living in their office, that apparently she got essayed by one of their employees. And also, I do want to put the caveat that what happened to this girl, yes, it sucked. The way she described it, the way that it affected her, it was very, very, it was terrible. Like, that shit should never happen. However, it was very interesting that her and a couple of friends just put a lot of like weight on Super Mega for a situation that, like I said, they were not the perpetrators. They didn't committed the crime. They just, were people, and they didn't know how to handle it. They were honest, and they were like, we handled this bad. And like, let's just say that, yeah, it was poorly handled. But again, this video that was made by this person was made in such bad faith. I remember I was watching it and I was like, okay, like you're shitting in Super Mega, but like they actively didn't do anything to you. So why is this about them? And yeah, then the situation got bigger, and then the person that posted this against Super Mega got the backlash. I thought it was just interesting that for Matt and Ryan, they had to like take a step back. And I do feel that maybe because their humor was like so out there, yeah, I feel that was the consequence, that they were like, yeah, everything is fine. And then this happened to them. And I do think it's very sad. They're interesting creators, and I do hope that they can regroup and come back whenever they're ready. But yeah, I wanted to mention that one just kind of in passing, because I remember when it happened, I was like, okay, it's terrible what happened to you, but why is it like these two like people, why is it their fault? It was so odd. So that was, let's say, the the smallest one. And then the rest is just like huge. The next one, I think it's also one that, while it was very bad, it also stayed a little bit more contained within YouTube. But I do think it was maybe on the news. I'll admit I didn't check if this was on the news, but because I was a fan of this creator, I was very aware of the whole situation. And that was, of course, jacksfilms versus Sniper Wolf. It sounds so weird, because like the names of these channels are so, let's say, they sound funny, but like the actions that happened with all these situations these years are so wild and dangerous. For instance, the if you were to ask me like, oh, there's this creator called jacksfilms and this other creator called Sniper Wolf, you would think like, oh, like what happened? Did they like diss each other? And of course, this was a huge thing this year. So if you know a little bit about this, like you obviously know the most important part, right? That it's Sniper Wolf or Leah or whatever. She actively went to Jack's Film's house, was like, oh, why don't you come out and like let's discuss this. Let's discuss this issue that you're accusing me of copying or freebooting content, which she was. And it was also plagiarism this year was a hot topic. But we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, like she decided to dox him, which is a huge crime. Of course, that there was like no follow-up or whatever, for the simple fact that, yeah, Jack didn't want to do it. He did, I think, something that maybe us as the people that were watching this were not very satisfied with the ending, because it felt like, oh, okay, so Leah got away with it. She barely got any consequences for it. But for Jack, and his family, it was the right choice, which was, to take the high ground, just like ignore that. Not ignore it, but he took the high ground and was like, okay, you want me to leave you alone? I'll leave you alone, because clearly you are not a sane person that wants to discuss this in a proper way. So he just took the high road and move on to something else. I think first and foremost for wanting to protect his family, which I agree. As much as as a fan and someone that really thought that Jack was fighting the good fight, like you really cannot ask someone to put their family in danger after like Leah just like doxed them. What was truly egregious throughout this whole thing was Leah's attitude of like, oh, he's just like obsessed with me, and he thinks that because I make money, like calling the women card, right? Like, oh, it's because I'm a female creator. It's like, no, it's because you're freebooting content and you're not creating. It's not a sin to be pretty and make content out of that. It's absolutely no shame. What is bad is that you're stomping on others to get popular, which is what she's doing. For instance, the bingo thing was hilarious. Oh, and also this, I wanted to mention this about the whole Sniper Wolf thing. She was like, oh, it's just that he's like mocking me and like bringing negative attention to me. And all I could think was that, dude, if you were smart as a businesswoman, you would realize that this whole situation is bringing attention to your channel, either in a negative or a positive way. And this whole bingo thing, it actually affects you positively, because the bingo thing was so funny that a lot of people probably wanted to see your videos to play the stupid bingo. You know what that translates in for you, Sniper Wolf? Into views. And that's money for you. Regardless if you think that Jack was right or wrong. Because I remember that Jack did it and like other channels were picking it up, like Your Movie Sucks. He also like recorded a couple of streams with the bingo and played bingo. And I'm like, this woman is such an idiot. Because like, yeah, okay, like he's accusing you of copying and whatnot. But like this whole thing, if she would have been more gracious about it, it could have ended with her, having like a lot of positive press. Like, okay, I admit it. Let's all play bingo. Like if she would have engaged with it, it would have been so much better. Because now, okay, jacksfilms moved on from it, but now Leah has this stamp on her channel that, regardless of everything, no one's gonna like her. If she ever wants to reach out to the community of whatever, no one's gonna like her. For instance, I'm thinking, yeah, like saying that Jack, it's like desperate, is hilarious, because I was thinking of another situation. Jack is a troll. He's like a professional troll. He's a creative troll, I would say. But I was thinking of the Emoji Movie. When the Emoji Movie was coming, he trolled that movie so hard. And yeah, like Sony, they could have gone also let's say the Sniper Wolf route and sent Jack like cease and desist. Like, yeah, like stop posting streams of the trailer, stop discussing our movie or whatever. But they didn't. If you know the drama, which wasn't a drama, it was a funny thing. Like I said, he was trolling the Sony Studios for the Emoji Movie. They sent him a care package with like fidget spinners and like merchandise from the Emoji Movie, and they invited him to the premiere, and he went, and it was hilarious. I am so sure that movie wouldn't have been seen by as many people as it was if it wasn't for the huge trolling campaign that Jack did, because it was hilarious. I've been ready, willing to see that movie a couple of times, because Jack made fun of it. I wouldn't gain any of it, but because he brought up such attention to it, I want to see it. So yeah, like sometimes, people don't like criticism and whatnot, but when you make content, if anything brings like views to you, and then you can like get better, right? Do it. Because yeah, like Sony did the Emoji Movie. Let me just check something. Oh, what is this? Sony Movies made Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse? Like, I'm not... Let me be totally clear. I'm not correlating that, okay, Sony first made the Emoji Movie, and then they realize, after... Oh my God. Yeah, they it's not like they realized that after making a shitty movie, they could make a great movie. But, it's telling that they were like, okay, this product didn't work. They move on from it. And then they threw out one of the greatest animated movies ever after doing the Emoji Movie. They learn from it. They still sometimes make bad things. But yeah, like they hit a really low low, then a really high high. If they took the feedback, maybe they didn't. But like they garnered that attention into money. So I think it's really funny that Sniper Wolf is so stupid that she couldn't see that. Like, yeah, it's funny that YouTube asked her to be like, oh, it's Sniper Wolf. Where do you like get your ideas for the videos? You were the keynote at our conference, about smart businesswoman. She wasn't smart enough to see that the publicity, that the trolling campaign that Jack was doing, getting her views and money, and she just doubled down and then ended up doing something quite horrible to him, that it's a crime, and that she only got away with it because he decided not to legally do anything against her. So yeah, that's your smartest woman selected by YouTube right there, taking just L's all around. But that situation was super wild. I'm gonna be super honest with you guys. Then, yeah, the rest of the situations that I knew because I was involved in the community or whatever, as a viewer. Let me make that very clear. Like, when I say I'm involved in the community, I don't say that, oh, I'm like actively creating content for this community, but I watch people that maybe made content about this, or in Twitter or X or whatever, see the people that talked about this. There was, yeah, first let me talk about the ones that I'm not actively a fan, but of course they were so big that it was impossible not to know. So let me bring out my ukulele. Oof, the Colleen Ballinger situation this year. Holy shit. So I'm gonna be super honest. When it comes to the Colleen Ballinger situation, I never saw Colleen, never was a fan of Miranda. If anything, I never liked the character. And I'm not trying to put that to be like, oh, I knew she was weird. I was like always above it. No. It's just rather that I wasn't aware of how deep this went. I knew that, oh, okay, there's the Miranda character exists and, she's very famous and whatnot, but I never actually touched the content. I don't know why, but I do remember the original video by Adam McIntyre when it came out. I don't know if it is because some of the drama channels that I see, because, they're fun, like the Spill Sesh, and I think it was mainly Spill Sesh. I think when Adam's original video, when he was still 17, I think, where he came out and said the whole situation he had with Colleen, I think it was posted by Spill Sesh, and I saw it. And because I didn't have any attachment to this Miranda character or for Colleen, I remember I saw it and I was like, this kid looks like he's being honest. Like, why would this kid lie? It didn't look like, he was trying to manipulate. Like, it was a kid, so it didn't make sense to me. And I remember that after that, I started seeing Adam, making videos. Now he's, I think I would say, a rather biggish creator, in the drama community. He likes to give his opinion. He watches, stuff, talks about it. He seems like, he's becoming like a really nice creator. I think he's going to be quite cool as he develops and grows. And when the situation again hit the fan this year, I remember that, yeah, of course, like Adam was first to talk about it. And I remember when he was saying like, oh, like I told you guys, like when I was 17, but no one listened to me. I remember that I was like, did I not see the same video? Like, I just honestly thought that his video when he was 17 was quite clear. So now that he was coming forward saying like, no, you guys don't get it. Like, no one believed me. I was bullied. I lost my friends. I thought it was wild that the internet sided with this woman, just kind of like obstetrize this child. And now that more and more proof of the whole thing came out with Colleen, and not only that, but like the pictures of Adam, of like him, like when he met Colleen, when he interacted with her, he looks so young. Like, it really hit me then. How bad was it? He looks like a baby. He still right now looks very young. But yeah, like if you've seen Adam's videos or like the proof that's out there, he looks so young. It's insane to think that he was ever put in that position to like be dealing with Colleen and whatnot. And I do get sometimes when creators like Colleen come out and say like, okay, yeah, even to a degree, and I'm not excusing this, I'm saying I understand. creators, for instance, like Shane Dawson, right? Like they were in their early 20s and something still didn't made a lot of sense, and they didn't know how to handle the internet, because the internet was still, like, even 10 years ago, I would say, was still quite new to learn what you could say, what you couldn't say, how to share it, who not to share it. Now, even if you're a creator, your whole persona is very, very curated. Your people tell you, like, oh, don't share absolutely everything. And I understand it. But the main issue with people like Shane or Colleen is that, okay, you did that shit, and then you come here years later, and then you are like, well, I was having a bad time. It's like, no, just say you made a mistake. That was what was so wild about the Colleen situation, because, like, as all this stuff was coming up from years ago, then it came out that she was like, no, I learned, I've changed. And then there was, like, proof of her that, like, a week before she said that, she was still engaging in this behavior. And it's like, when did you change? When did you ask? When did you make, like, a penance, right? A penance for what you did, or acknowledgement, or ask for forgiveness, either to the clients, to the victims. And then the ukulele video came out. I will always remember that goddamn video. I had this song in my head for weeks, but I remember I saw it. Right now I'm on holiday, and the last time I was on holiday, I was, like, on the second day of my holiday. I was just, like, chilling in bed, and then I was like, I took off my cell phone, and I was gonna check, like, some videos, and then it was everywhere. It was everywhere. It had just dropped. It was everywhere. Everyone was talking about it, and I remember, like, I saw it, and I also was, like, in shock. Everyone and their mothers talk about that video. It was insane to react to such, like strong accusations, such a dismissive and joking way. Like the fact that she was like, oh, my manager, whoever, told me not to talk about this, but they say I couldn't sing. A wild statement to say. And it didn't help at all that, it wasn't like just her maybe, like, making just, like, noise, and then, okay, just a little bit of playing, and then I'll address everyone. No, like, she, like, work on the lyrics, like, to make them pretty and make sense and make it, like, very, like very nice sounding. I remember that I think that that Philip DeFranco said that the situation was even, I don't remember if he exactly said this in his, like, word for word in his coverage, but he did mention that the situation was made a bit worse because the song was a bop, and yeah, like, it stuck into your head like an earworm, which is true. Like, I think it will be years and years to come when everyone will think of the phrase gossip toxic train and not associated with Colleen. And she did that. Like, she associated herself with that motto or that term now, because, yeah, like phrases like manipulation station, like, it was unreal to think that someone who's been a creator for, I think she said 15 years, wouldn't think that doing something like that was gonna burn her brand into the ground. And I have been seeing people saying, like, oh, like, now she's back, because now she's back again. She's been making some videos and doing what she should have done from the start, which is, like, don't talk about it. Like, if you're not going to apologize, if you're not going to take accountability, then don't talk about it. Don't bother. And people are like upset that she's back and there's no like consequence. I think there are consequences. For instance, I am super sure that the character of Miranda Sings is it's maybe gonna take years for it to come back into circulation or have a tour or whatever. Right now, she has to do like, let's say, mommy blogs, because it's the only like safe content she can make, like compared to what she used to do. Like maybe it's not. It's very hard for someone to be, let's say, cancelled for the simple fact that if you're not banned from a platform, you can come back in any capacity, however you want. You know, if, and that is a big if, yeah, because actually, I wanted to make a segue into the next thing. If there's legal consequences, then yes, most likely you will never make a video again. So let's talk about Rory Frank. So it makes sense that Colleen comes back as a creator. If you don't want Colleen to be a creator again, truly, just don't watch her. Don't hate watch her, don't engage with it, and then the channel will die. Then she will have to find something else to do. I think that's kind of what's happening to, for instance, Shane Dawson again. Because, yeah, like he cannot... Sadly for people like Shane, it seems that he does not know how to live without YouTube. So he will always create. But as long as, you know, they're not doing anything illegal that is going to be prosecuted, then just let the thing die. Let the channel die, let the videos, like, don't interact with them. And then, you know, then they can be, let's say, quote unquote, cancelled. While it was completely disgusting, the attitude that Colleen had, she's not being prosecuted legally. So yeah, like, there's no reason to ban her. She did things that were, let's say, immoral and also could be potentially seen as a crime. And this is coming from someone that does not know, that I don't have a law degree or whatever. But yeah, like, knowing what we know, for instance, the situation with the pictures of Trisha. But the thing is that if Trisha doesn't decide to press charges, or Adam, and yeah, the situation is not going to be prosecuted legally. Same with Sniper Wolf. And then we had Rory Frank. Kind of like with Colleen and Adam. Of course, I never saw 8 Passengers. I don't really like that kind of blog channels. I'm sure there is a safe way or a balance somewhere to make family content. But it's insane where it has gotten now, especially with Ruby Frank. We had, of course, some years ago, the situation with Daddy 05. That was also insane. And yeah, like those channels got like terminated immediately because there was a crime. There was a crime that could be prosecuted and was prosecuted. And in this case, I don't have that much actually to say about the Ruby Frank situation, other that I remember when she got arrested, I was like, oh, like it how bad was it? And the more and more details come out about how she was treating her children, it's horrifying. It's horrifying to think that this was ever on internet, on YouTube, and was being monetized. I do feel for her children, and to a certain degree, I hope she and Jody get the help that they need. A lot of people are saying like, oh, they deserve to like rot in jail. They deserve a fair punishment. But I also kind of hope that they get the help that they need. Because like if you don't know, but yeah, I think it's good to say the trigger warning for child A. The fact that she tried to convince her son that he was evil, that he was possessed, that he had to be bound to her, stand out in the sun barefoot, the fact that she wasn't giving them food, while horrific, and of course I hope that the children get the help that they need. I do hope that one day she can reunite with her children and maybe like admit to them, like look at her children and be like, I'm sorry. Maybe it's a crazy hope. Maybe because I don't know. I do believe that I have a good relationship with my parents. So just to think, for instance, that my mom would do something like that to me, it's insane. But I remember I saw the Instagram post from her eldest daughter, Sherry. And I do remember, again, mostly my context for this wasn't like seeing 8 passengers, but because it was so egregious what Ruby was doing that every drama channel and whatnot talked about it, or like commentary channels as well. Now, do you remember when Sherry came out for the first time? And it felt right that finally one of the children of this family channels was old enough to come and talk and say her experience and say that it wasn't a positive experience. Because a lot of people, that see channels like the Ace Family, they're saying like, oh, just wait until their daughter is old enough and she's going to hate them. She's never going to talk about them. And let's say that Sherry was the first one that did that she just completely like cut ties with her mom and her dad. And it gave hope for like a better future for these children, to them to find their voice and find their justice after being treated like this. But I don't know, I this case in particular, I find it so sad because it was the neglect of the children, the destruction a little bit of their childhood. Yeah, like they got their childhood stolen, especially the older ones, that are getting into adulthood and have to like relearn everything. Not only that, but now also they don't have their mom anymore. Because yeah, like I really think both Jody and Ruby I hope that are gonna stay there for a while, so they can get the help they need. Everyone is of course saying that they're like huge narcissists, and also this year the word narcissist was thrown out by so many people. And while their behavior is super bad, I'm not the one that's gonna be here and tell you guys like, oh yeah, they're like mentally ill, and yeah, they have like this diagnosis. But what is very clear is that there are people that need help to stop treating others like that, need to be stopped, don't have others, stop treating people like that, and don't affect others. Oh, there was this one thing. Yeah, I'm just remembering now about the whole 8 passengers issue with, for instance, with Jody. One of her, say, earlier victims was a man called Adam, that his life just got destroyed by him and his wife taking therapy with Jody. And remember, because he made an interview, I believe the channel is called Mormon Stories. and they were discussing the whole situation with Adam. Like, just looking at him, you could see someone that it's still very much traumatized by the whole experience, how certain topics trigger him, how he cannot. It was really hard to see that interview with Adam, because you can see the damage that this has done. So yeah, maybe you may be a bit confused by, like, well, if you're saying that, then why do you want them to get help? I just think it's what's right, that people should. Yes, they need to be held accountable and punished, but they also should get help, so it doesn't perpetuate things like this. It was, I think it was one of the hardest ones, and yeah, it was just bad all around. Just a quick thing, I didn't realize how upset I was by that situation, because I had a very general idea of what I was going to say. Now that I just like started talking about it, like I can feel it also in me, like I'm just like by the whole thing. But yeah, that was the 8 passengers. And then this one, speaking of if there's going to be legal action or no legal action, and this one was like the culmination of all the things this year. And that was the Illuminati drama. Oh boy. Now, I think it's fair to say that a lot of people that liked commentary channels liked Blair. Of course, I did at one point. I really liked her content. The MLM videos were fun, because they were interesting to see. And again, not to be like with Colleen, that something looked funny, and I knew all along. But before this whole thing unleashed, sorry, I lost my light. Before this whole thing unleashed, I remember that I already had stopped watching Blair's videos, because I remember that I early on her career, I liked the MLM stuff. But then she started doing corporate casket, and I do remember she made the corporate casket about Vocaloid. And like, I don't want to be like, I'm not also a huge fan of Vocaloid. Like I said, some of this opinions come from someone that like was on the receiving end of like someone that was just like watching. But I remember I thought like a corporate cast, or like Prince of the Past, I think, like some of her series, whatever. But she was talking about Vocaloid, and I was like, why? And I saw some parts of the video, and it just didn't sit right with me at all, because it was just like this very like negative and ugly. I saw it just some days ago. I remember I couldn't finish that video. I saw some part of it. I was like, what's the point of this? Like, who are you making this video for? Because like, obviously, it's not for the fans of Vocaloid, because you're like shit talking about the thing that they like. And the people that don't know Vocaloid don't really have an interest in this. So like, this mean-spirited video against Vocaloid makes no sense. So to me, it didn't make any sense. For instance, let's say it's controversial fandoms, like, I don't know, like the bronies, right, from My Little Pony. You make like a negative view on that. Of course, the bronies are not gonna care about that, but there's enough like toxicity in that fandom that people that don't like the fandom are gonna like that video. Like, yes, I don't like this, and this. Because of the fandom, because of this, or like, it like drew me away from the fandom because people were so toxic. Like, there is a crowd that likes videos like that. But the Vocaloid one was just like so out of left field. And again, like the negativity on it was like so surprising. So yeah, of course, like a lot of people disliked that video. It was disliked bomb, a lot of negative comments and stuff. But after that, I remember it left like a really bad taste in my mouth. And then the Cruel World Happy Mind situation happened. When it happened, it was just something that it was like very hush hush. Because I remember I was looking at her comments and everyone was just like putting like small comments of like, oh, it's just that it seems that Blair cannot take criticism and that's not nice. So like snippets of the issues of Blair were like starting to come out. And then I do remember that there was a point where her videos just turned negative. Everything that Blair talked about, it didn't matter what it was. Everything was like made by these evil corporations. They were all evil. Mind you, there are corporations that are not nice, that have very bad cases of I don't want to say malpractice, but negligence to a certain point or something bad, right? But that doesn't define exactly all companies. But with Blair, everything was just like super evil, which is super ironic, right? And I think then the legal eagle situation happened. Which, yes, of course, I was also on the train that thought it was hilarious that she decided to try to educate a lawyer on copyright, okay, and plagiarism. I remember back then h.bomerguy came out and he just like dropped the anti-vax video. He was like, "Oh, is this you?" And I thought it was weird. But yeah, like knowing what we know now, I was like, oh, this guy really took the high road at that moment. He could have just like destroyed her, but he didn't. And then yeah, the whole sad milk thing happened. I do remember when she posted her video. I was in my house having drinks. I was like chilling, and I was still subscribed to her, and I saw that she posted it, and I actively thought, I'm not gonna watch it right now because I'm drinking, and like I'm having like this really bad feeling about her, and if I see it now, probably I'm gonna leave like a very nasty comment. And I waited, and then when I heard about what it was the next day, I was like, oh, I was right. I would have been very upset with this video if I would have seen it yesterday. But yeah, after that was when I unsubscribed from Blair. I was like, dude, I'm done with you. It's insane because, yeah, I think we can kind of like close the whole package of what happened this year. Then the James Somerton thing happened. It's super weird because I do like queer creators, being part of the LGBTQ community as well. But I think James never kind of crossed my feet. And the funny thing is that even though h.bomerguy talked about Blair, and you would have think that I would have seen her video, his video from there, I actually found out because I'm a huge fan of Todd in the Shadows. And Todd also made a complimentary piece for h.bomerguy video where h.bomerguy talks about the stuff that is plagiarized, and Todd covered the stuff that was just straight up made up, which is insane to think that someone that had such huge influence is literally lying. Let me just check one tiny thing because I did have a comment that I wanted to make, but I forgot the name of the person that also made this comment. Yes, I found the name I was looking for. But I think everyone also saw the h.bomerguy video. And it really did brought out an issue right now with YouTube in general. And that is the fact that the quality there's no check in quality when it comes to YouTube. You can literally do whatever. But the thing is that if you don't have high standards for yourself, then unless people go actively looking for it, there's like no measurement of the quality of the content. That's why I wanted to talk about Council of Geeks. I will leave his video in the description, where he made a response about h.bomerguy talking about James Somerton, because he was saying that, well, a lot of people that are doing like commentary and stuff, we don't do our due diligence, to not plagiarize, to properly quote as well. So when there's people that are saying like, no, I did do it. It's like, no, you didn't do it. You didn't do it, but because there's no quality assurance, because there's no people checking that we're all doing it right, people like Blair, like James, can do the very, very minimum and then get away with plagiarizing. Because honestly, we don't know better. It's very rich, for instance, from Blair, for instance, in the anti-vax video, that she was saying like, no, it's just that I did quote it. It's like, no, you didn't quote it. Quotes, citations, because they're not your words, they need to be very specified on where and how you got them. I was thinking about my thesis, that I did for my master's, because it's hilarious, for instance, that Blair says, oh, it's just that I had like these 70 sources. Well, do you use the sources? I was thinking about the thesis that I did, and like on my master file, where I had all the stuff from the thesis, I had like maybe like 50 or so sources, and I had like books and articles that I had read. But on the actual document, on the actual thesis, I think maybe there was like 20 like sources in total. But it's because those 20 were actually quoted or used in any potential way in the document. So like just saying like, well, I looked up like 100 videos for this, and here's all the information. Like, that's not due diligence when you're quoting or citing someone. You have to specifically say, here at this moment, I'm quoting this from this part. So if you want to look for more of it, you can go and search it. And I do think that history tube or booktube or like any kind of part of YouTube that is doing like any academic kind of academic-esque or essays or whatnot, we need to do more due diligence with properly quoting sources. For instance, with James, that he plagiarized like literally books. I do think it's I know I'm coming like very like I don't want to say that I feel for him, because what he did was wrong and was messed up. But like, for instance, there was the book that he pretty much plagiarized for Disney, or the Disney videos he did. I think it was of Evil Queens. I'll look for the name and I'll put it in the description. But like, okay, dude, let's assume that you read the whole book and you really liked the book. That's fine. But like, what is plagiarizing, what is wrong is that you're taking the book and that you're going like word for word and going like, this, what he could have done if he really liked that book so much. Okay, read the book, then discuss the book. To make a good video about a subject, you don't need 1,000 sources like Blair, or copying one source in specific like James. You can just like make a very small video about a very small thing. It's your video. It's your video. You can talk about it however you want. But the whole point is that if you're going to discuss something, it needs to be your opinion. And if it's not your opinion, credit the person that is the opinion coming from. either way, it's not necessarily bad if you're not the one that is having this like very important and new ideas. It's good if you're like sharing the ideas of others that inspired you. That's also fine. I do think that a huge reason why there was so much, or there has been so much plagiarism lately, is that the learning curve to gain a new skill, we're hoping that it's very, I don't know if this is the correct language, that it's I don't know if it's correct to say that I think it's very steep, because now the people that are doing commentary videos for a really long time, they do it very well. They look very well researched. They look very professional looking. So people that come new to this kind of genre, they immediately feel the pressure to be perfect. And sometimes the best way to look like you know too much is to steal from someone that knows too much, which I think it's quite sad. Because there's no learning curve. I think that was what I was looking for. There's no learning curve for people to develop their own sense of a persona or something like that. Because they feel that they have to be perfect right away. I know that sometimes I had that. That I made my video, and I know that my editing, it's still quite bad. And I don't properly do my scripts, this video being the case. And you feel pressure, right? Like, oh no, it has to look perfect, because like so and so does it and it's perfect. And sometimes it's just then easy to steal, so you can think that it's perfect, and others think so too, which is very sad. Like that with James, I think that was his biggest sin, that he probably does have good ideas or something like that, but because he was probably afraid to look like someone who was learning, he just fucked himself. Yeah, like the James Somerton, I don't think he as a brand can ever come back. And then the apology video, Jesus. Yes, James, it's very sad that you feel bad about it. But this, at the end of the day, this is the thing. You did that. You actively chose to do that. You actively chose to plagiarize, to lie to your audience, and to silence other queer voices. So you just coming and saying, oh, I haven't had time to be here and say I'm sorry because I was feeling very, very bad. Yes, that's on you. It's your responsibility to manage that outside and then come back. The statement that you want to give, the apology that you want to give is about plagiarism. Not because you've been away or that you took so-and-so time to come back. It's to address what you did. For the people, so like I said, this year was insane. I did some other smaller stuff. I do wonder if there's something in the water. If there's something in the water that made everyone just go up the deep end. Because these were all huge creators. Some more than others. But these were all huge creators, people with a lot of influence and followings, just completely acting out. Or we found out that they've been acting out for years. Again, to bring out Council of Geeks video, he said that, okay, like the main issue with James Somerton is not that, oh, we need to go and like Sean James, which his career is already over, but rather we as creators have to move forward and do better. Do better, learn. Okay, I'm going to make an essay and I'm going to have sources. How do I cite a source? I'm going to edit this. How can I edit it better? Like, give us that opportunity to have like the learning curve to make better videos and better content, because then yes, that's always a great story, like seeing someone that started from the bottom and developed and became great, and their content grew in quality as well. But if you don't want to start from the bottom, if you want to just start already at the top, and you're stealing someone else's work to be there, you don't deserve to be there. We all got to grind a little bit. So this year, in that sense, was wild. Super, super wild. I know this is now super, super long, but I just wanted to take a second to talk about all this that was happening in the community. Next year, I'll see how I'll also evolve as a creator of whatever I want to create. But I do think that this does teach us about how to hold ourselves accountable when we make a mistake. It's fine to make a mistake, but you have to be responsible for it. And also just how to hold the higher standards for ourselves as creators. It's fine if you cannot do things perfectly the first time. I know there's lots and lots of people on the internet that probably can do it, or that you feel they can do it better than you. But this is about you. This is about you learning how to do it better, so one day the image you have in your mind of whatever you think you're creating resembles the one that you will have in front of you. Because I know that sometimes when people create stuff, one thing is what we have here and another thing is what you create. Sometimes you're always like, it's not how I wanted it. The only way we can translate from here to out of our brain, it's practicing. That's what I learned this year as well. So happy New Year. This was an interesting year. And I'm hopeful and happy for next year. So best of luck to everyone.